Yeah, it's been a whirlwind the last couple of days in the Nigerian football scene, from the NFF versus Finidi George to Finidi George versus Victor Osimhen. The man at the center of all of this controversy has tendered his resignation. What next for Finidi George? What next for the NFF? And could Victor Osimhen come under the hammer of the NFF? With that, I welcome you to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolise. I promise you to be another exciting edition. It is the Salah edition. Back at the Salah to our Muslim brothers and sisters. I'm sure you had so much to eat and drink, so much to rejoice over, and of course you spread a lot of love. On the show today, we'll talk about the Nigerian football scene. Shout out to Enugu Rangers, champions of the NPFL 2023-2024 season, and of course the European Championship is really hot. Germany gave us a memorable opener, and the rest of the games have been coming thick and fast with some interesting results, and of course, beautiful games. So don't change the channel. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, of course, I'll be doing this with my guy, David. Welcome back. It's time to delve into what we have in store for you. Welcome to the show, David. How you doing?
Edwin, I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. My team in the NPFL, Rangers International.
When did you start claiming Rangers?
In 2016, when they won the last title. I remember.
That's when you claimed them?
Yeah, that's when I started
supporting them. So the only time you support them is when they win?
No. That's when I fell in love, and I've kept my support.
How come I'm just knowing for the very first time?
Well, I don't talk about Nigerian football as much as well. I support them.
Because Arsenal, that we are clinching to
absolutely. No, I remember that season. That was the Imama Akpakabo season. Bobby Clement, Godwin Aguda, Chisimibuchu Lam, and Obina Ubudu.
I'm not falling for
They played some that was the last time the NPFL was on TV. Actually we got to see. I saw a lot of their games, and that's what attracted me to them. And they've been doing well since, even though they've not won. But it's good that after 8 years, another title. And I'm also happy for the man in charge.
All right, before we get to Rangers, let's start, of course, with the big fish, or the bigger fishes. NFF, Finidi George, and Victor Osimhen. We'll get to Victor Osimhen, but let's start with NFF and Finidi George. So it is no longer news. Finidi has tendered his resignation. But what led to him resigning is what I want us to talk about. And who do we blame in all of this? Is it the NFF or Finidi George? For those who don't know the background story, the sport minister, the NFF and Finidi George had a 3-hour closed-door meeting. After the meeting, the sport minister laid out some directives, and one of which is that the NFF should get an expatriate technical advisor. It didn't sit well with Finidi George. He felt he was being sidelined, and crucially, he said, according to multiple sources, didn't get the needed backing from the NFF. Hence, he tendered his resignation. First off, was this the right way to go about it, David? After 2 games, you might say 2 results that had further made it difficult for the Eagles to qualify for the World Cup. But again, he didn't start the World Cup qualifiers. Also, Pesero started with 2 draws. He's coming, tried to stable the shape, but some will tell you tactically his deficiencies were exposed. But on the side of support, do you think he was right that he didn't get a lot of support from the NFF? I
think so. I agree with you. I think this whole drama just shows that the NFF are incompetent at this point in time. I mean, Pesero left in February after the Nations Cup, and it took them until May to eventually settle, because I believe it was settling on Finidi George. It was probably not their first choice. I'm very sure it was not the first choice. I'm sure the direction the NFF under the Guso board were going to go was foreign. But I think there was a lot of external pressure from Nigerians, from journalists, from even the government, I think, at a point in time, that let's give a local-based person the job at this. But I think with the way everything went with Finidi, I think he was the unfortunate scapegoat in this whole situation. All
right. For Finidi George, would you say he lacked the charisma, the technical and tactical nuance to handle arguably the biggest coaching job on the continent of Africa? Because when you listen to him, I felt he struggled to articulate his thoughts. The couple of press conferences he had, the questions directed at him, his attitude and his demeanor towards the press, maybe all of that just exposed him
Yeah, I think so. I think he was not prepared for this job. I mean, there were stories flying around, not really stories. I think it was a situation. He was not really. He didn't apply for the Super Eagles job. When they dropped their shortlist asking coaches to apply, I didn't think he submitted, but because he was part of the system from the Pesero time, so I think he just became the automatic choice. But it was not the NFF's first choice, and I think he was not prepared. And from the moment he got appointed, and then he was doing his media around radio stations and TV stations across Nigeria, I think he didn't put out the right vibes, the right messaging, and people felt this is not the person to take us forward because he didn't exude enough confidence. And you can say it's a mixed bag that okay, he's not talking the talk, you have to actually walk the walk. But unfortunately for him, he didn't talk the talk, and then he also did not walk the walk, and everything just came together to blow up in his face.
All right, what's next for the NFF? What's next for Finidi George? If you were to get an expatriate, in the words of the sport minister, if you were to get an expatriate technical advice, which name or names come to your mind?
Well, the outstanding candidate, I don't know how we are going to do it, but if a Hail Mary can just fall on Nigeria's lap and we're able to get, Javi Renard,
why is everyone talking about Javi Renard?
I think he's the highest profile manager we can get at this point in time. His experience on the continent with Zambia, with Ivory Coast, and with Cameroon has shown that he's able to, manage, some big nations and get the best out of the players. And I think if you look at the other options that are being mentioned, the consensus, he has managed Cameroon, he took them to third at the 2021 Nations Cup. Maybe it's a good shout as well. But I don't think locally is the direction we should be heading now. We should completely just abandon that and go for the. But we should get the best. That's what I'm trying to say. We should get the very best. We should not just settle for a Pesero kind of Organetro kind of appointment this time. We need to move forward. We have banished the local. It's now time to get the best on the
And part of the directives from the sport minister is to get the best players around the world.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at that statement and you put it under the microscope, from my own point of view, I think, or I could interpret it as the minister saying, hey, forget whatever you have on the home scene. Go and get the best legs out because the best players to represent the country are not currently in the NPFL. What does that mean for the NPFL?
Sadly, it means this minister is not as as confident about the NPFL as when he was appointed. I listened to some of his interviews and I felt, wow, this is a politician. He's here to talk the talk. But is he going to be able to deliver? And I think it's just about getting the players, getting the Super Eagles to perform. We have had Super Eagles ministers in the past instead of sports minister, and unfortunately this minister is also heading in that same direction, holding the Super Eagles as like the beacon and abandoning every other thing. Unfortunately, as a sports minister, the league should be, the domestic league should also be part of your purview, but I don't think this minister is interested in that as well.
All right, away from NFF versus Finidi George, let's do Finidi George versus Victor Osimhen. That's the part 2. And unconfirmed reports or story that surfaced in which put Finidi George in a bad light, and that story has been refuted by all and sundry, in that Finidi made some remarks about Victor Osimhen, and that he said he was not going to beg Victor Osimhen to play for the Super Eagles, blah, blah. Victor Osimhen went on Instagram Live and said some unprintable things about. He didn't mention Finidi George's name when he made said those unprintable things, but a lot of people have interpreted it as him taking a swipe at Finidi George and those who have criticized him. In this moment, David, what was your reaction when you saw that video? And if you are the NFF president, how will you handle this situation?
Well, first of all, as a fan, as a reporter, I looked at that video and my head dropped. I was like, this is not what you expect from, a Super Eagles player. The standards, fine, he was right to react angrily, when you are being called the scapegoat for matches you were not even involved in. And it's not just, this set of internationals. I think Victor Osimhen has been made a scapegoat over time. It seems like every time there are major internationals, he seems to be absent. But most of the time, it's not his fault. He can't help the fact that he's injured and also the situation with his club. But I think he now let all that frustration come out at the wrong time, and then he channeled it in the wrong way, going on Instagram Live. And then there aren't, like you said, some very unprintable things. And the fact that he also did not do Finidi George give him much respect. He hammered on the fact that, I called Finidi and I spoke to him. I even had somebody beside me to also record the video to ask
evidence.
Yes, as evidence. Stuff. Like, what are you trying to prove? That so that as if he knew something like this will happen and he will be his integrity and his commitment to be called into question. But I don't think his commitment is the issue. I think it's the fact that he's an impulsive person. He has shown it over time. I remember the qualifiers, the playoffs against Ghana, you know, after Victor Ikpeba came out and took a swipe at him, and then he replied him on social media. And I think he's an impulsive person, and he should work on himself, and I think he needs a media handler. I think most of our players need media handlers, know how to handle. You know, I think he might not see the impact of what it is now, but when you as a player come out to openly call out your manager, I mean, Jadon Sancho did something not even as much as this. He only just inferred that his coach was a liar, and he ended up at Dortmund. So I think it's not going to put him in a good light in the future.
All right, David, before we leave the local scene, it's going to be a travesty, and I know you won't be happy if we don't talk about Rangers International. Fidelis Ilechukwu started with MFM, finished as runner-up, went to Plateau United also, finished as a runner-up. This time, third time lucky. He is a title winner in the MPFL. He's called a walking one. Fantastic season for Rangers, and of course, fantastic for Fidelis Ilechukwu. Yeah,
absolutely. I think his journey, his story is one of, you know, of promise. You know, the kind of, you know, he was a player at MFM at a point in time, got injured early in his career, couldn't complete his footballing career. I switched over to coaching, and I think he has shown the right attitude. You know, from the ground up, you look at his teams, the MFM team he built, the Plateau United team, even this Rangers team, they have a set way of playing. And, you know, he calls himself, he's called also the walking one. And I think he shows the walking, like we like to say in the local parlance. The football is there to see, the results are there, the mentality. You know, just give him the right. The only time he didn't succeed was at Heartland, and we know the situation of Heartland. That's why Heartland are being relegated this season. But if you give him the resources, he's able to. People don't look at the manner of work he did at MFM. Look at the fact that MFM are nowhere to be found now after he left them. And I think he's a fantastic manager, and the sky is the limit for him. He's only up and up from here.
All right, Remo Stars and Yimba Shooting Stars all vying for relegation places. In fact, you take a look at Remo Stars. They have qualified for a continental ticket because they are currently 4 points ahead of Plateau United in 5th place with just one game to go. In Yimba are 3rd, Shooting Stars are 4th, but at the bottom of the table, it's very tight, very congested. Tight. Doma United, Sporting Lagos, Aqua United, Bayelsa United, in and amongst those teams trying to beat the draw. Going into the final day of the season, David, I'm putting it to you, I'm putting you under this spot. Sporting Lagos, Aqua United, Bayelsa United, who's going to be the drop?
A few weeks ago, I confirmed Sporting Lagos dead and buried, but the result they got against Enyimba, title chasing Enyimba over the weekend, was one I did not see coming, you know. And I think they might, but I don't think going to Shooting Stars on the final, away at Ibadan, the final day of the season, with Shooting Stars also chasing continental sport, that's very difficult. I mean, Rangers went there and they struggled. They got defeated in that. So I think Sporting Lagos might not be able to do enough. I think, unfortunately, they won't be able to beat the drop. I think Bayelsa United will be the ones to beat the drop, and Aqua United.
All right, that's it from the local scene. We need to go on another break. When we come back, all eyes will be on the European Championship, where Germany started off in blazing style. Welcome back. It's the home stretch on Sports Pizza. David, it is time for the European Championship, and Germany has given us a taste of what is to come. We know their brilliance when it comes to international tournaments. Yeah, they lost their way in the last couple of years, but hey, against Scotland, they told us that we are here not to participate, but to win. Yeah,
an exciting, you know, Nagelsmann revolution, like I like to call it. You know, a young, enterprising manager with a young, enterprising squad, then sprinkled with a bit of, I mean, Toni Kroos, his introduction into that team felt like the missing piece of the jigsaw. Nagelsmann had to do everything to get him back into the squad. Then the likes of Müller, Ilkay Gundogan, you know, Rudiger in defense. And I think the threat of Musiala and Florian Wirtz, they are going to cause a lot of problems to defenders. They are not traditional wingers in the sense of it. They like to take on their fullbacks. They can drift in, and I think they are going to be an exciting prospect to watch for Germany at this tournament.
And not just Germany, David. We've seen Netherlands pop up Vegas. the former Manchester United lone striker, popping up with another decisive goal. We've seen Spain going the route of Lamine Yamal and Pedri, absolutely destroying Croatia in the first game. And with Croatia, let's talk Croatia. Against Spain, it was clear they lacked that pace, that athleticism. And it just dawned on me that this is the final stage of that great Croatian team. I'm projecting now. I think it's going to be tough for them in the next couple of years to get close to the successes they've achieved in the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the quality of players that are coming the next generation, they are not on the level of the guys that are stepping up this scene. There is no, in the midfield, the quality is diminished. In defense, the quality is diminished. Probably the only quality you can say is Josko Gvardiol. But Gvardiol is one for the future. The rest of the players are has-beens around Europe. They are not at the top level like the generation before them were. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to have this kind of run again. And I don't think they are producing enough to actually do something like this again.
Yeah, you talked about Musiala and Florian Wirtz, both youngsters. But Spain also have theirs. Pedri, Lamine Yamal. Is Yamal a world-class player?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think he's a prodigious talent. He's on the up. He's one of the brightest prospects. But he's not. At 16 years old, there's much that is to be expected of him. There's much you can expect from him at 16 years. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. And for a world-class player, you don't expect mistakes on the highest of levels. He has not been tested. Fine, in these Euros, he's had a bright start. But let's see how, when push comes to shove.
Even with Barcelona.
Yeah, with Barcelona. But Barcelona are a dead team. Let me put it like that. They are a team in disarray. So if
Barcelona fans, I didn't say that.
I mean, if we saw, okay, fine, you can say, okay, that's how Saka also made his way into the Arsenal team when Arsenal were in disarray. But I think he has shown promise. But we've seen Ansu Fati also. Fine, Fati was not as exciting as that. But Yamal has that special quality, but it's not world class yet.
All right, the Trent Alexander-Arnold experiment in midfield, we saw it, and particularly I wasn't impressed. There were times where he gave the ball a lot away under pressure. His passing, which is his biggest strength, was underused and also not really clicking for Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think this experiment should continue.
I think the experiment, it has more minuses than pluses. People talk about his passing, but the ironic thing is that the passing only comes to bear when he's able to spray one long pass. But the major thing that midfielders should do, keeping the ball moving in the middle of the short passes, intricate passes, build up, I don't think that's his strength. He's not the player for that kind of thing. But so what are you now going to sacrifice? Sacrifice, holding on to possession, maintaining control for one exquisite long pass in the whole game. I don't think against the bigger teams, France, and the likes of Spain, I think he's going to be found out. And he's also very limited, his movement and his turn of pace and everything. I think it's not going to work. If Southgate continues with the experiment, I think it's going to backfire for him. All
right, another player that struggled for England so far is Phil Foden. Rightfully, he was named the player of the season in Premier League. Some would disagree, but hey, the players have voted and Foden is the man. But so far for England, he struggled to show his club form in the colours of the Three Lions. And once again, the question is Foden being hindered or is Foden hindering England?
I think with Foden, he's a very unique kind of player. I mean, he's a talented player, but under Guardiola has found a way to harness him. There's a system around him that brings the best out of him. We've seen him play on the left for Manchester City as he has been asked to do for England. But the difference is playing on the left in a Guardiola team is different from playing on the left in a Southgate team. And I think Southgate is his biggest punishment at this point in time, because he keeps shunting. It just feels like when he plays for Guardiola on the left, it feels like, he has freedom to express himself and there's support for him. But playing for Southgate, he's just shunting him out left, just do whatever he can do on the left. I think his best position for England was to be in the number 10 role, and I think Southgate has to find a way to put him there.
All right, talking about number 10, it was all smiles, all jubilation, all happiness when Christian Eriksen put the ball in the back of the net. 3 years away from that scare on the opening day of Euro 2020. What a player he is for Denmark, what a servant. And you can see his quality when he's on the field, when he's fit. There are few playmakers better than Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact is Denmark's all-time leading goal scorer as a midfielder is a remarkable achievement. And you look at the fact that, you know, fine, we saw his season at Manchester United, not the very best, but we know how...
There's 12 starts in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's Erik Ten Hag's team trying to... But with Eriksen, you know the obvious strengths he possesses. Build a system that gets the best out of him, and you get the best out. His passing range, like you mentioned, is one of the best in Europe. And I think if you can get a system around him, take off more responsibility from him, and then allow him to do what he does best, and you get the best out of him.
All right, that's much we can take on today's show. I'm sure you had fun with us. The European Championship is still on, and we will be giving you all of the most insightful analysis, information, and of course, education. And we'll leave you with our video for the week. Do remember to follow us on our social media platform at SportsPizza, and like and subscribe to our YouTube page. It is adios from me, Edwin Onyebolise, and David. Thanks for being a part of today's show.
From Abe David is goodbye.